You know what? You never know what you might want to cut and make into some clips later. You never know. This is where B.P. RAW comes in. You get a lot of material out of there.
It's not going to make your throat all dry, is it?
Well, I got water.
Damn cracker.
Got my throat all dry and scratchy.
So what's up, Jake? What's going on?
Well, I mean, it is coming to be mid to late October.
Oh, yeah?
We, BP crew, Friends for Life, whatever you want to call it, have
best pals.
Best pals have a I don't want to call it a ritual, but
It's an annual trip.
We take an annual trip every year, Vegas.
Not annual.
Annual. I'm sorry. Annual trip.
Yeah.
We take every year as a group. Our legendary, world famous Vegas trips.
Yeah.
Las Vegas.
Oh yeah.
We do Halloween. Sometimes we do group costumes.
I would say it's famous. I mean, we get kicked out of bars a lot, especially you.
Well, I mean, I may be kicked out of bars too, but
you.
affronts to my freedom would probably be a better way to put it. I thought this was America.
Free country.
Yeah, right?
I thought I could dance anywhere I wanted.
This is America. I can dance wherever I want.
Yeah.
You can, just don't knock tables off.
I can dance if I want to.
I can leave my friends behind.
Yeah.
But if you don't dance, then you're no friend of mine.
Yeah.
You say it like it happens a lot. Doesn't it? We only go once a year, so I mean, by definition, it couldn't even happen that often.
Yeah.
By just how things align. So this year,
this year Gary and I were going to be staying at the Cosmopolitan, and
Cosmo's one of the more expensive places, one of the higher end establishments.
It was at one point, and then it started to, fall from grace.
Okay.
Started going down a little bit. People started complaining, and then it got remodeled. I think they put in $500 million in renovations.
Half a bill.
Yeah.
You have any idea the capacity, room numbers, or anything?
No, I don't. But
they have 2 towers, but
I know it's big. I've been through a couple of times.
3,000 rooms is what it says.
Yeah, that's a huge place.
And then what sucks is, it just got sold.
Yeah.
The Cosmopolitan. They got sold to the MGM.
The MGM Alliance.
So, I signed up for their Cosmopolitan rewards program and all this stuff this year.
Yeah, because you're going to spend so much cash.
Right.
Yeah.
And then they got sold to MGM. So all that stuff, the points, we accrued it for the room, and it's just going to go away because they're not transferring it over to MGM. It doesn't work that way. So now I have to open up an MGM account.
An MGM rewards account.
Right.
So what about all the money you spent on the room and stuff like that?
It does not transfer over. Sorry.
no refunds.
No refunds. Well, I mean, it's not officially MGM yet, but
by the time we could use the points.
Right.
Yeah, I guess that's fair because you have to accrue them before you could use them.
Don't you have to stay in the room first, and then you get?
Will you get?
I think so. Yeah.
Will you get some points that you get okay, so you show up on Thursday, and then you get all the points for showing up, and then on Friday you use because you're gonna spend pretty chunk of change there.
Yeah, but they made whoever they sold it to, they made some good money. They sold it for $5.65 billion, and then the previous owner bought it for, I think it was $1.7 billion. So
that's 4 times as much money.
Back in 2014. So what is that? 7 years? They
Almost triple.
Yeah, almost tripled their money. It's a lot of money.
That is a lot of money.
That's little.
It's unrealistic amounts of money.
But yeah. Hotel, I mean, I think right now it's still a great hotel.
Again, it's one of the top hotels as far as price, and I bet even like ratings and stuff. I mean, I've been through there. It's a nice place.
Mm-hmm.
There's no arguing with
Well,
that.
it's always the best place to eat breakfast.
The Henry.
Yeah, because
Henry's
you
good.
see all the girls go to the pool party,
Yeah.
like walking through there.
Yeah. No. So, and I think it's just gonna get better because the Cosmo was owned by. It was just their only property.
Independently owned.
Right in Vegas, and now that it's part of the MGM.
An independent establishment, or
Yeah.
It was owned by. Who owned it? Blackstone. So now that it's part of MGM, I think it's just gonna get better because MGM likes to keep that status symbol.
it'd be like the crown jewel.
I mean, it's right in the middle.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing. It's so well located.
Well,
it's freshly renovated.
the MGM rewards program is one of the better ones.
Don't you have MGM's credit
Me,
card?
I have a Caesar.
Is it Caesars?
Yeah,
Oh.
I have the Caesar's rewards.
But there's
Because I got it
rewards
at that
for
tournament.
MGM.
Oh, okay.
That's where I signed up for everything.
I thought you had a credit card too.
I got the credit card there too. I got a really good rate on it. It's actually, out of all the credit cards I have, it's the best rate.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Sounds like you got suckered in.
Oh,
It's got a great rate, I swear, man.
No, 16%. Something like that. My lowest.
Yeah.
All my credit cards.
Yeah.
They gave me a hell of a limit too. It was like $7 grand, $6 grand, something like that. But I never used it.
Yeah.
And then after a year, they bumped it down, and now it's like $900.
So you want to pull some cash out on your
Yeah,
credit card?
no. I used it once
You got
because you had to
$7
activate.
grand.
You have to
Burning that hole in
activate it.
that pocket.
No, not on a credit card. Fuck.
But it's a low rate. It's only 16%.
Yeah, but if I put $1,000 on there, that's $160 a month just in interest.
Well, but if you win big, you just
It's
pay
true.
out.
It's true.
Yeah.
I would spend the money after I win.
Don't fear the reaper. Ride that lightning.
No, wait a minute. You're supposed to. That's exactly what you're supposed to do.
It's the opposite of what the song said.
Gotta ride that lightning.
Ride the lightning.
Yeah. You're in Vegas.
Well, I also don't want to go deeply into debt. Last thing I need is some strip club to charge me $3,500. And then what are you gonna do? Ruin my marriage? You better hope you got the cash for it. I always imagine myself the gambler, and that I'm gonna, go to Vegas and poker tournament and win, and it's gonna cover the trip, and that's why I go to Vegas. I'm a gambler. It pays for itself.
I think the only guy who's ever hit it big, I think it was your brother on.
Don't even get me started on that.
The roulette table.
What, he went twice in a row or something?
Yeah,
like that? How do you call numbers like that?
he put all his money on that one number. Because usually you're supposed to spread it out because it's 35 numbers plus your zeros,
plus
double zeros, right?
Yeah.
He's like, no, this one.
I'm feeling it.
This is it, and it hit,
Yeah.
and then it hit again.
And then what did he
It's
do?
what- it's
He
like,
just pocketed the money and didn't do anything.
Put it all in his pocket and turned around and walked away?
Yeah,
because I think it's like 10 times the payout or something.
35 times.
35 times.
30.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If you call the
So
single number.
$10 gives them $350.
Yeah.
And then did he let the 350 ride?
No, he did another 10, so he ended up with 700.
But still,
Yeah,
that's crazy.
all of his money was $10.
Right? He bet it all.
Yeah,
He
my
got
highest
100% of the money.
earnings were I was playing 3-card poker,
Oh yeah.
and I had $10 on the table, and it was 3 of a kind pays 6 to 1 or 60 to 1. Sorry.
60 to 1.
Yeah, so I ended up making just because not only did I win that, but I also beat the dealer. So I ended up making like $750.
That's
And
not
once I
bad.
won, I was like, all right, I'm cashing out. And the dealer was like, well, why? You just won. I'm like, yeah,
Yeah, see
I'm
ya.
done. You want to get tipped or
I
not?
know, it's funny when the dealers always try to guilt trip you into, like, come on, man.
You went in.
They
Don't
don't
walk
have
away
any
now.
I was like, no, I'm done.
No, that's fine.
They tipped him $25. And
Yeah, I'm sure you appreciate it.
that's when we went to that steakhouse, Ramsey Steakhouse in the Paris.
The Gordon Ramsay one?
Gordon Ramsay. What did I say?
You said the
Gordon
Ramsay.
Ramsay, yeah.
Yeah.
That's the day you got chicken at a steakhouse.
I was so upset about the beef Wellington. It hurt my feelings. And so I was going to make it pay. And then it ended up costing me.
But that steak I had, oh, it's so good. Still, it's up there. It's
One of the best.
Yeah.
Did you want to talk about what your plans are for this Vegas trip?
Well, so we're going on a Thursday.
We usually go up a day early.
Mm-hmm.
It's a nice leisurely drive on an off day.
And,
We'll leave Thursday morning.
Thursday morning, yeah. We have,
rented a car.
well, I mean, a couple of the guys were into sports, you know, and we're from Arizona, so we root for the Cardinals. And there's going to be a game that night, Cardinals versus Packers, Thursday night. So we're thinking of watching it at one of the sports bars.
Yeah, beer garden.
Beer Park.
Beer park. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's it. Beer park.
It's a cool place. And so we're thinking of doing that. And then Friday night,
Noodle House. We were talking
Yeah,
about.
Momofuku.
Momofuku on
Yeah, we were
on
talking
Thursday.
about Thursday for lunch.
Well, it depends what time we get there.
Why Momofuku though? I'm just curious. What about it? Because I think this was
It's
your
really
idea.
Good. Yeah. Like me and Michael went to the one in New York, and it was really good.
Yeah.
I'm thinking maybe like late afternoon Friday.
For Momofuku?
Well, because
yeah.
let me, if you don't mind. Friday night's the night we're getting dressed up. We're going up for Halloween.
Yeah.
So Friday night's the costume night, and that's the night for sure we're all going to be together. And I can tell you right now, you know, we're going to want to get a cheap meal like that pizza place.
Oh no.
Something like that, where everybody will go and eat. Friday night's that night. I was thinking Thursday we'll go up. We'll do like a small group. We'll go get some noodles before we check in, because we'll probably be there a little bit early.
Yeah, because the lunch prices are way better at Momofuku.
Yeah, so I'm
And
thinking
it's
we'll
like
do
the same
lunch.
thing.
Then we'll go to the hotel. We'll get settled, separate, get showered up, whatever. Then we can go out that night and do
the game.
Yeah.
And then that'll be our Thursday. Keep it easy because we're going to be there all weekend.
Yeah.
Then Friday, I don't know about doing the Noodle House Friday is what I'm saying. That's why I was thinking something more.
Yeah, pizza's fine.
I'm not saying necessarily the pizza place, but something kind of more of that.
Yeah.
We may have to, just because.
I'm thinking as far as the group goes.
Right.
You know, like we're talking, because everybody's going to want to eat. That's going to be a rough night. But what we were planning on doing, I'm sorry to step on what you were saying, was get a table Friday night at the Cosmo.
Yeah.
That was kind of the highlight I thought of the trip. Is going to be,
It will be.
Nice table. We're getting a table for 8, right? So we
Yeah.
got a couple extra spots. You know, putting down some money, so we'll have like a nice bar tab. I think it's going to be.
And I'm sure, we'll be filming on location.
I was also me and Yuli were kind of talking about this earlier, doing some sort of like a trip compilation.
Oh, yeah.
You know, imagine like if every hour you just took like 1 minute of film. And then as the day gets progressively, so here's like the 8 hours we were out on Friday night. And it's like, oh, here's us meeting up and getting dinner. And so everybody's sober. And then, oh, here's us getting into the club. And then, oh, here's us in the club. And then here's us in the club after 2 hours.
Here's Jay getting kicked out.
Yeah, here's Jay getting forcefully ejected again because he snuck back in after getting kicked out the first time.
Trying to bribe the bouncer with a bunch of nickels.
Yeah.
I couldn't bribe the bouncer with a $100 fucking bill.
Did we do that once?
We tried to, remember?
Yeah,
we were all
Treasure
dressed up
Island.
for that, and I'm all, oh, you let us in, buddy, and I got a hundo in my hand.
Yeah.
It's like, no.
Me and Michael tried that at that Maxim party at the Maxim Super Bowl party.
Yeah.
And dude was like, 500 each. We were like, fuck that. And we went and like snuck around the sand trap and through the pool and jumped the fence.
I got $500.
Yeah.
$100. That's $500.
$100 for all of us. No, you got 5 apiece. Fuck.
We ain't rolling in it.
Goddamn inflation.
Goddamn fucking market crunch or whatever what are they call it? Market supply chain shortages. Goddamn supply chain shortages.
I like how they keep blaming Biden for the.
Well, he's the current president and has been for 10 months.
How is
I
his
didn't
fault?
hear-
What is he gonna do? Jump in a fucking?
But fair is fair. I had to hear fucking Trump's America for the last.
Is he
4
gonna
years.
No,
jump
shut up
on
with
a-
that. You
on
can't
a-
say that wasn't Trump's America.
So,
Is he gonna jump on a semi and start moving all these freights?
No.
'Cause that's what's happening.
But I think
the freight started from last year
yeah, it's true.
because of COVID and
well,
Trump.
the one
Under
policy,
Trump.
the one policy that could exacerbate it and has is like the companies require like making the vaccine mandatory because some people are quitting over that. But that's not.
What companies? Like truck driving companies?
Yeah, just
Swift?
depending. Yeah.
I've never heard of a truck driver shortage because of the vaccine.
No, they had a truck
Oh
driver
no,
shortage
yeah, we've had a truck driver shortage
for at least a couple of years now.
Well, this is that silver wave they're always talking about. All the old guys that have been doing it for so long, they're getting out of the game because it's changing so much. When they were doing it, they were making great money, but even on top of that, they own their own rigs.
Yeah.
Nowadays, you don't own the rig. You just constantly. It's
You,
like
you can, but it's gonna. I mean, it's $100,000.
but that's what I'm saying.
You own
It
it.
takes a while to earn that, especially working for a company. So what they do is it's like a fucking taxi. They lease the semi and then work for the company. So they're paying the company to use their truck.
Mhm.
And then they're driving their goods all over. And it's a lot different too because, you know, when you're rolling, you're making money. So with all these, you can only drive 8 hours a day. You have to take so many
That's
steps.
the other thing, the new regulations.
Yeah.
Because what happened before is truck drivers were just driving straight.
Mm-hmm. You did 20 hours or
Yeah,
whatever.
they were taking those trucker pills.
No-dos and
Yeah.
meth in a bottle.
Cocaine.
Well, Coke might be a little expensive to fuel.
Well, I mean, they were
cross-country
making
driving
that kind of money back
Yeah,
then.
well, you're probably not too far off.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so, they were causing accidents as well. That's why they started limiting how much.
When I think a lot of young people don't want to become truck drivers because they think, and probably rightly so, that within 10 years, that
Things are going
it's
to be
gonna more
automated.
automated, yeah.
No,
Not
for
10
that.
years.
completely,
Especially for hazardous material.
No.
And
Not yet. We don't have
the.
the infrastructure yet for things to be
Well,
automated
it
on
won't
the
be
freeways.
completely automated.
Well,
but
see-
they'll still have to have a driver in there. But
I think the only way they'll ever make automation is if it'll have to just work on our streets. So the computers will have to get good enough at driving that that's it. They can just drive on the streets like a person would.
Mm-hmm.
That's the only way. It's not going to be like, oh, this is for driving self-driving cars only lane or, 'cause
No,
Yeah.
sensors.
for like a lot of the things,
Radar.
everybody
truck
has to be
drivers-
in a self-driving car. No, that's not going to happen.
especially because you could regulate where like the truck couldn't go over a certain speed, and it would automatically brake if it got
Right.
like things like that.
I think
I think we're gonna have to have drivers in there for quite a
Safety.
while because they'll just make it that way so that people have jobs, but I don't think that a lot of young people are like getting into the truck driving. because-
Well, truck
A lot of-
driving's like a trade.
So-
And young people just don't want to be tradesmen anymore.
When you say young people, you mean like 19 and
yeah,
over?
just
So, it's true.
Yeah.
I feel like they're bombarded with technology, with their cell phones, television, internet, computers, with the being so they did a survey for kids, right?
Okay.
And they were saying, what do you want to be when you grow up? And for the longest time,
The cowboy astronaut.
right, exactly.
Police officer. Now it's
Now it's
YouTuber.
it is, or
it's,
a TikTok.
I'm a video
with that
gamer.
YouTube, it's
Oh.
your fault.
You goddamn YouTube! What are you doing to our children?
Overlords.
Oh, you know what we need to do? We need to start a parent organization that limits what YouTube's allowed to show, so they can't corrupt our children.
So, and it's hard work too. Truck driving.
Oh,
It's not easy.
like I said, it's a trade. You have to get certified. You have to put in so many hours.
Mhm.
It's a hard job.
Yeah.
Maybe not at all times
but
physically
it also
demanding,
keeps
but-
you away from your friends and family.
Yeah, you travel
So
a lot.
you have to have that mental
Lone
state.
wolf.
Yeah.
Or you gotta have 3 families, like some of the trucks.
Well, and that's probably part of the reason now it doesn't work anymore. Everything's so connected.
Yeah.
My wife's
You can't
like,
have 3
what were you
families,
doing
yeah.
in fucking
Uh-huh.
Maryland for 3 days?
Yeah.
Baby, cross country.
So, but yeah, that's what's happening right now. I showed Gary a video of this crane operator in one of the ports.
California ports.
Mm-hmm. And it's just their to capacity on
Oh, God.
Containers.
And
containers.
it's something, too, that it just
And
now
then you got all these ships that are waiting to be offload.
offloaded, yeah.
Right.
But California's got a lot of very restrictive trucking laws. so they can't carry 2 trailers. I'm not 100% sure what they are, but they're not, in California. They can only use the right hand lane.
You know, any kind of crazy law you can think of, like California will happen.
Well, especially restrictive to delivery drivers, because that's why when you go to the border, they have that big truck stop where you see them always offloading trucks. I bet there's a weight difference from here in California.
Yeah.
Where, you know, the trailers can only carry so much. And then you can't do double trailers. But in California specifically, you know, like semis have to keep in the right lane. They can't go over 55, you know, so I'm sure just that part alone really bottlenecks stuff getting off the docks.
Yeah.
Because even if you had a fully staffed crew, you know, they're only taking 1 box at a time.
Right.
You know, so it's like...
Well, it was cool in that video that you showed me because it's all the container movement is automated. It's on automated little fucking truck things that just move the containers around. So
until you get right
the
to
port
the end,
is really efficient.
where you load it on the truck.
And
the port is efficient.
Yeah. And then
it's taking the containers out of the port.
Yeah, the bottlenecks the drivers.
Right.
Yeah.
Not enough drivers.
Or like to your point, Jake. Yeah, maybe that is a factor that they can't do double trailers and things like that.
Oh, I mean, I'm sure it's a contributing factor.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a lot of things, just like anything else. Nobody wants to drive because gas is so expensive.
Oh, yeah. Why is gas going up?
O.P.E.C.
Do you know?
They just decided they're not going to pump any more gas.
It's
record profits.
High demand.
You saying the Middle East is doing this? Because that's what O.P.E.C. is.
Well, O.P.E.C. is oil-producing countries.
We asked the
We're
Middle
part of
East
O.P.E.C.
to pump more. It wouldn't be a problem if we still had capacity on oil, but we don't.
But we weren't using that oil. We were exporting it.
Well, that's all. Oil, it's like the global.
Here's the problem with oil is everybody's supposed to sell it off and then buy it back.
Yeah.
That's what O.P.E.C. is.
Oh.
They all pump the oil and then they all sell it back.
But we could increase capacity on our own.
We should nationalize things like oil and make them.
No, it's not going to happen because right now our dollar is still backed by O.P.E.C. We wouldn't need O.P.E.C.
Well, and we were talking about like last time Norway. Norway is like half nationalized, where essentially it's a private company, but the government owns a bunch of stock in that.
Yeah, we were talking about that, like 51%.
Like if you were going to do, because nationalize is different. Nationalize it's completely controlled.
I might not be saying the right term.
Yeah.
Exactly, but in my mind, it's the government owns it 100% and uses profits made to subsidize costs in America and to offset taxes that people have to pay. So if you make the government should nationalize mines and basically anything you pull from the earth on American soil, and then use that to offset the government overhead. You know what I'm saying? They would sell it and they would give it to America cheap. They would sell it overseas for a profit, and they would use that profit to offset the cost of tax that people have to pay. And ideally, the government would produce enough to give America all these raw resources very cheaply, and then make enough overseas that we wouldn't have to pay taxes. The government would self-fund instead of a company like Lithium Reno that's owned by Canada and China.
Yeah, I mean we talked about foreign companies.
Yes, especially foreign companies.
I agree with that, but I don't think the government should control like all of our
natural resources. It's hard to say because then you're gonna have it's going to be run by the F.D.A. You know, it's going to be run by the whatever regulatory agency, or it's going to be run by a different agency, oversaw by another agency.
But yeah, the government, it's not
because layers of oversight is how you keep them honest.
Yeah, you always gonna have oversight.
That's what like
even the oversight is really inefficient.
Right. So they're saying gas prices or crude oil was really cheap back in spring of 2020. That's because nobody was driving.
Because nobody was driving.
The pandemic. It went down to, it says here, negative $40 a barrel.
It cost money to
it was literally they were pumping so much, and
they weren't pumping so much, they weren't selling enough.
Well, no, I mean like so
they were
overproducing.
overproducing.
Yeah, like because they were still keeping capacity, but then they were having all these
excess oil.
Yeah, excess oil that they were just having to store, and it cost more to store than it did.
But now that people are going back to work, the economy's starting to hum. Right? They're saying that's why oil prices have skyrocketed to $120.
When they shut down a lot of their
and U.S. oil prices finished above $80 a barrel.
So they're finding it hard to like scale back up, essentially.
Yeah, maybe. Or they're artificially keeping prices high
that
to
is part of it,
recoup losses.
OPEC was
or to just gouge because you kick them while they're down. That's the definition of for profit.
Yeah, the problem with like Saudi Arabia, those like they still owe all their payments to their citizens because they get all that oil money. So like Dubai, the Emirates, Saudi Arabia. So they were having like when oil was really low, they were basically having to take on a bunch of debt to still make their payments.
But that's the perfect example.
But
Saudi
now
Arabia
they want to keep oil high to like recoup. Which is why they're not scaling up production. Because we're basically asking them to scale up production to increase supply, so you can lower the cost.
But
right now it's low supply, high demand.
Saudi Arabia's
they don't want to.
Citizens, their country has nationalized oil production. Their citizens don't have to work. They get a check every.
They're a good example of like what not to do.
They import immigrants to do all the work for them. And everybody is basically like everybody's retired.
They essentially use
a
slave class.
Well, yeah, because
they don't let them leave. They treat them like slaves.
You mean they buy people?
The actual population, they do essentially. Yeah.
They
can't leave. Like once you're with that employer,
they go to third world
nations
and tell people that they're going to go and work.
Southeast Asia and India especially.
Yeah, swoop up some.
So when they get there,
people.
They say, "Well, we paid for your flight." What they do is they take away their passport.
Yeah.
And so they say, "We paid for your flight. We're paying for your room and board." So and you have to pay us that back first, and so it's a lot of money.
$2 a day,
right? And they just can't get themselves out of debt.
Yeah.
And so every day that goes by, that's another day of room and board and food.
And then if they complain, they just deport them, and
they don't get any of
have
it
somebody else. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, it's like Saudi Arabia. Those countries are not run well. Even though the citizens are really rich, like that's not necessarily a good thing. And it's like, what do they spend their money on?
But here's the thing. I'm not saying we should build Saudi Arabia, America.
No, I know.
I'm just saying, as an example, that's a country, and like you said, people are very wealthy.
Yeah.
To the point where they own slaves. You don't get much more.
Part of the problem with it is
and I'm not saying we should do that here.
Corruption.
Yeah. But I am saying you can offset a lot of the costs that the American people have to pay, and you could provide more social programs and everything that people want. So the rich people wouldn't have to pay as much taxes, and the poor people would get all the help they need, and it would cost less.
To me, it would be better, if the government was just a shareholder in those companies, rather than they're running them, they're doing everything.
It's true. The only problem is what I have with most private companies.
You get the same with the government. You always assume that the government will be completely different than private companies.
I do, because there's going to be so much more oversight, and it's not going to be everything's not for profit.
The government's terrible at it does oversight, but it's also terrible at oversight.
Yeah, but that's not the government's fault that it's defunded in the oversight department. That's where we've talked about this conservative.
Even with funded, there's still corruption involved.
That's why you add another
corruption.
Well,
conservative.
No, you can't say
everybody. Everybody's corrupt.
But that's why you need layers of oversight.
Yeah,
that's all you need. You just somebody to oversight the oversight. That's why they have police for police. It's not like that's not true.
Right.
And then they have people that police them.
Yeah, they need to enforce laws that are in for the oversight, but they don't.
Yeah.
They turn a blind eye
because of corruption.
Or they have topped out fines. So, it seems like a lot of money, but really, in the big scheme of things, it's topped out.
How was the money spent? Because then that.
Well, but it's something that's really great about government, especially on a local level, like say a school district, for example. All of their funds, all of their everything is matter of public record. So you can get on the Phoenix Schools website, and you can see what their budgets are. You can see exactly what they spend their money on. They have pay classes for every employee. They have how much they spend on NS, nutritional services, bus drivers, art, history. I mean, everything's broken down by department, by subject. They can't keep that information secret. It's required.
Right.
But then when you have a private company that's profit driven over like service driven, they don't have to disclose this. They've written the laws in such a way that they only have to disclose this much, and then all the rest of it gets done off the books, or not off the books, but in just ways people can't see. If you have a big government run mine, it's going to have, this is how much the supervisor makes, this is how many employees they have, this is how much they spend on maintaining equipment. Every penny they spend, because it's taxpayer funds, has to be accounted for.
Right.
I mean, you have to get 3 quotes on every job. You have to have a receipt to go with every order. You know, like to the penny, they keep track of funds.
It's such a big
in theory.
In theory, it's true.
So many gears. I mean,
but that's
so hard to.
There's plenty of ways to pad budgets and do all kinds of stuff, and built it in.
I'm sure there's loopholes written into the laws.
Well, not even loopholes. I'm talking about
that's true. That's exactly literally written into the law, so that here's how you exploit it, and it's like you do it in such a way that when you're the one that is writing the laws, that it's favorable to you as a business. Oh, you want to open a mine? You got to fill out $10 million in permits, and then that doesn't even guarantee you the mine. That's just the permitting fees, and it's like really. So you're kind of cutting it out. You want to put a new drug on the market? 7 years. You got to go through research. Yep. So it's not even the 3 years or 5 years that a company can't be profitable. It's that you have to wait 7 years before you can even make money off that product. Obviously, you have to already be a successful company to be able to take that kind of hit for 7 years to go through all the trials, to produce it, before you can start making a profit.
The reason they give for all that is that it's protecting the consumer.
That's the reason they give, yes, and it sounds good when they sell it, but in reality, it's
even with the FDA,
it's the market writing its own laws.
Stuff that.
Don't even get me started on the FDA. I got a big one on the FDA. The FDA is crooked as shit. That Alzheimer's drug we were talking about, it's like they had part of their governing board resign because they were approving a drug that had no clinical effect.
Yeah.
And they were just doing it because somebody made that money. So now we got this new $50,000 a year Alzheimer medicine.
Well, were we talking about the ivermectin before?
Oh, the horse tranquilizer?
It's not a horse tranquilizer.
Horse dewormer.
The horse dewormer? No, I'm just kidding.
But
we were.
And they're putting out a new drug that's essentially ivermectin.
That's exactly the same thing, but they can charge $500. Yeah, exactly.
Instead of a few dollars a pill.
And that's why they don't want you taking ivermectin. Not necessarily, I don't know. I'm not a chemist or anybody that knows the thing. But
are they? Is that what that is?
That's what it is. He's not lying when he says that. They just came out with a new drug. Yeah. It's an antiviral. That's basically.
But it's tailor made for human consumption.
Well, no, the ivermectin is too.
Yes,
ivermectin.
It's also
they use it
chemically different enough from ivermectin to be considered a different thing.
So they use it.
Yeah,
they have a different thing.
An antiviral
for horses, but ivermectin it's used in humans all the time. It's not made
to deworm humans.
Well, it's for parasiticals. But it's found to have antiviral properties.
No, you're not.
I know. It just sounds funny.
Yeah.
Literally.
But it's not like the drug was made for horses. They actually made the drug for humans. They won the Nobel Prize, and then they give it to just like antibiotics. Like horses get antibiotics. It's the same antibiotics humans get.
Yeah, the problem is the dosage.
Dosage
10 times bigger than
the delivery system is.
So you take a horse pill.
I think it's like a paste or something.
Oh, is it?
Imagine the way you smear it on a cracker.
A Triscuit?
Yeah, I think.
Some wheat thins?
I mean, it would make sense.
Is that what you were spraying on your wheat thins?
Yeah. Gotta keep that Rona away.
Just eat charcoal like a normal person.
Yeah, ivermectin, it's like, it works better than any other drug they found for corona, and all of a sudden they came out with another...
You know what would be great? Because you're the guy behind the monitor.
Yeah.
Maybe pull that stuff up. We're talking.
Yeah, that's great.
Like,
so
what's the pill called? I mean, what else do we...
Well, and it's not. I don't know for sure. It's just very suspicious.
Is it something like that you take it when you get corona to help you fight?
That's exactly what it is.
Okay, so it's not
you get
corona.
No. You get corona and it's a treatment, and it's not a treatment for people with severe corona. It's mild to moderate corona.
Okay,
but it's
if you're in the ICU, they're not going to give you.
If you have to go to the hospital, they would not give it to you. No, because if you're in that bad a shape, the side effects are probably too bad. Because obviously, any drug you take is going to have some sort of side effect.
Right.
And so when you
ivermectin, from what I've heard, is pretty safe. Like you would need.
You
can't really overdose on it.
So some of the stories that I've seen of people getting angry that they're is for people that are already in the ICU.
You can't really do much for those people.
Right, but people don't understand that, and they're throwing it like the government's not letting us give our beloved one,
our loved ones that needed treatment.
Right, these drugs and like you say, but once they're in that state, you can't take it anymore. No, is it more effective if you have a Rona shot, vaccine shot, and then because
if you have a Rona, if
you have a vaccine shot,
you are less likely to get that sick.
Right.
So that means you probably would be more likely to get this treatment, and
it
would be more likely to be successful.
So is it more?
Well, that's what the governor of Florida was saying.
Is that an incentive to get the vaccine then? Because now, like, you get the vaccine, you won't get as severe effects anymore, and then you can take this deworming.
It's not a deworming pill. It's anti-parasitical.
Antiviral or something.
Right. But people know it as a deworming pill.
But like when you say it, like the connotation is that it's not.
I don't know. I would say that this would speak to an even broader point. It's not so much like I think this vaccine. I think that's just kind of the catalyst. It's loss of trust for authority. And Trump didn't do anything to help it, but it was a problem long before Trump was around. People don't trust the government. People don't trust the news, and it's only been getting worse and worse. And for whatever reason, and now the government and the news are teaming up on something, and that makes all the 15% that didn't trust the government and the 15% that didn't trust the news is now 30%, and then they convert 5% each.
But then where do they get their news?
They won't tell you. If you ask them, ask them where did you get this from? And
last week tonight with John Oliver,
definitely with the program.
His last episode was about that, where people are getting their information, and a huge chunk of it is from family members who get their info from friends of their own that get them from Facebook, WhatsApp app.
I really didn't want to say Facebook.
But that's the thing. It's like a lot of this, and so Facebook's cracking down on English misinformation, but they're doing nothing about other.
Because they don't have anybody cracking down on misinformation that speaks Spanish or Indian or whatever, so they can't.
It's a large chunk of the population.
I'm not saying it isn't.
Like my mom, because I'm Hispanic, my mom's Mexican. She's not on Facebook English. She's on Facebook Spanish, and
I didn't even know that was a thing.
There is. I mean, what do you mean?
I don't get to see no Facebook Spanish. It's all Facebook English for me.
Well, because you speak English, so you're going to look up things that are in English. But if you start looking up things in Spanish, then it's going to change your algorithm.
Because there's a bunch of languages you click, and I only have English clicked.
You can
have English and Spanish,
right?
And then it'll show you English and Spanish.
But the other things, what I'm saying is, we have family members in Mexico that speak Spanish, so all the things they look up is all in Spanish, and if they send an article or a video here to my mom, she gets it in Spanish. It's not censored and it's not filtered, and then then it gets spread to all people that she knows, and
so they're saying that secondhand through Facebook is
that's one. That's a big one,
and
then all these other apps that people use to communicate. It's also another big one. But when you were saying, people that distrust the news, where are they getting their news to distrust that news?
Yeah.
And that's a big one.
Well, and the media hasn't done itself any favors by making itself trustworthy either.
Well, and the other thing is we have the internet,
Yes.
right?
Mm-hmm.
And it's like it's something that we've never had as a you know, the
Society, collective
right.
information.
Right, and you can do your own research.
Mm-hmm.
Like if a news story is false.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, it's going to take some time, 15, 20 minutes, I don't know.
Sometime.
You know.
Well, I do a lot of that myself. You know, that's where I come up with all these things.
And you don't necessarily need to have a computer. You can do it off of your phone now.
That's what I usually use.
So, I mean, and that's the thing, it's just, what happens is people get lazy,
mm-hmm.
and they'd rather be told instead of doing their own research.
I call those headline news.
Yeah.
Right.
They don't even read the story, they just see the headline and then they start arguing.
Right.
Well,
I deal with a lot of that.
People will usually believe things that either they want to be true or that they fear to be true.
Well, and the thing is, okay, say if it hits you very emotionally, right? You're like,
Okay,
oh my
yeah.
God, I can't believe it. Do the research. Like, if it's affecting you that much,
If you feel
emotionally,
something by it.
You would think they would do a
but
little
some
more.
people do research in an echo chamber too.
Yeah, if you've got them,
they just want to
4chan,
confirm
I don't
their own
know.
bias.
You got on Reddit and started looking stuff up, you'd be like, goddamn conservatives, fucking.
Well, they have conservatives on there.
I don't know. Where do you look up stuff? Because I usually just Google it and then like read through all the different stories. And then I'll see one from CNN. I'll be like, oh, now I know what to think. And I'll read that story.
This one goes with my line of thinking.
Well, that completely backs
Right,
up
and
my
that's
bias.
the echo chamber you're talking
Yeah,
about.
Yeah, a lot of people just want to confirm their own bias.
I'll skip
Just
5
doing
articles
research.
that say something I don't like to find the one article that says something I do like, and then I'll show that.
That's why I read like all the different like major news sites.
Well, and here's my thing is that we need small local news organizations. We're losing those,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Yeah, because they're all getting gobbled up by giant corporations.
And the thing was,
Everything's consolidated.
you know, there was the case, I think I spoke to you about it in Florida, where how they found, who was it? It was a famous case, and they couldn't, the authorities were having a hard time cracking down on it, and they found the killer through small, it was just a reporter doing
Like a
his
local
own
reporter.
right.
Yeah, investigative journalism is basically dead, which is a shame because that used to be the backbone of journalism.
Mm-hmm.
And now, they don't even verify information or anything anymore. These people
Well,
just
that's
run
something
with
I
Well, you
wanted
gotta
to
get
say
it to
too.
the-
Well,
they gotta get it
this is
first.
something like, say you're reading a news article, right? And you pick up a Daily Wire news article about a family being thrown off of a plane because their kid wasn't wearing a mask, right? And you'll read the article and it'll say, bystander says, and then that's their source. It's like one guy said, unnamed source.
Yeah.
And then it'll say, this is what the person that got kicked off the plane alleges. And it's like, yeah, they got kicked off the plane. They say, oh, my baby wouldn't do it. But really, that's not the case.
Mm-hmm.
They didn't get kicked off for being conservatives that wouldn't wear a mask. They got kicked off for being conservatives that wouldn't wear a mask. You know, it's not, oh, the baby wouldn't wear a mask.
Right.
It's that the bitch started yelling at the flight attendant saying, you know, it's my God-given right. I have asthma that I can't wear a mask.
Uh-huh.
And then, now they're getting ejected. And they're like, they're just doing this because...
the way I think, or
yeah,
my
whatever.
beliefs.
They're gonna go straight to the victim, and then that's the whole news article. It's not what actually
it's
happened.
every news article.
Well, to a point, but if you say that,
and
then
that's the problem.
But the problem comes down to the people, because they don't support the backbone that used to be journalism, right? So, because
And a lot of laws are written now in the United States where it makes it harder to do that kind of investigation.
yeah, because it's a measure of oversight. So what have they done?
It's like the two-party consent states. Like that is essentially what a lot of the lawsuits that were coming out of these corporations for like they
That's
wanted
California.
these laws.
Arizona, you don't have two parties.
No, I know. Like in these two-party consent states, that's why
that's
they
like if
do
you're
that is to fight.
Filming someone, isn't it?
investigative
Where you have to
journalism.
get
Secretly
consent.
recording this.
Secretly
Yeah.
recording, right?
you have to have their consent. So, think
But
about
as
what
an
that
investigative
means.
journalist,
That
like
means
if you're
you-
going in and undercover and questioning somebody from a corporation or from
Going into
then you can't do that.
You
in
can
those
you find
states
something
that
on
have those
camera of
laws.
them doing something inappropriate. You can't use it
Yeah.
because you don't have consent. is what it is. Yeah. So you catch them.
But I thought it was from. I thought those were.
Revenge porn?
No. When you know how somebody uses where you can't disclose.
Oh, whistleblower.
Your sources from.
Well, I mean, a lot of journalists do that, but it's not as powerful as with like recording either video and audio, where you're saying, "Look, this is this person's own words," instead of like, "Oh, this is what I heard."
But again,
that's like why those states made those laws, was to fight.
People want reputable and honest news, right?
Mm-hmm.
But they don't want to pay for it either.
No.
Okay.
And that's where the local news sources come in.
Well,
if you want that stuff, you have to subscribe to your local news magazines or news or whatever, because they need that revenue to stay open. If they can't get that revenue, then they're going to go out of business, and you're going to have to get your
there are
news.
some private ones like Project Veritas. Like them or not, they do investigative journalism.
Well, I wouldn't call that investigative journalism. Well, that's why they're not a reputable news source. But
I don't know what else you'd call it, but
propaganda.
Well, he has a bias for sure. I mean, there's no
straight up lies to the point where they get arrested and in prison for spreading false information.
No, that's not true.
Breaking the law.
What he got,
except all the abortion stuff when he was saying they were cutting up babies and selling their parts.
They never.
None of that ended up being true. And
was that Project Veritas?
Yeah. So they never denied that. They said that he should go to jail because how he got that information, because he secretly recorded that, and that's what happened. They didn't refute the other part. They never refuted that. They only refuted that he should not have been able to put that out because they did not know they were being recorded. And that's what he got in trouble
that's
for.
not even close to true.
That is true.
It's because he was telling full-faced lies. It's called the Hyde Amendment. And there's all these laws based around abortions and how abortion providers.
The Hyde Amendment has nothing to do with the United States. It only has to do with foreign countries.
I think you might be mistaken on that one.
No, it's having to do we won't give money to organizations overseas
who perform abortions.
Well, it's not.
No. It's that you can't.
The Hyde Amendment has to do with giving money to organizations.
It's about
not countries.
It's about you can't use taxpayer money.
HYDE.
You can't use taxpayer money to pay for abortions, and then abortion providers can't make money.
So the Hyde Amendment is you can't give taxpayer money to organizations that perform abortions overseas. That's what it is. No, it has nothing to do with in the United States.
It does.
It's only for
I may be mistaken, but I could have swore that it was a lot broader. A lot broader and more sweeping, especially in America, and that's why it's kind of like when they talk about voter fraud, but then they never have any proof. They just talk about it. It's the same thing like with abortions. It's not like, oh, the government's spending all this money on abortions and government funded and all these things. Yeah. It's more like the government's not allowed to spend money on it. There's already so many right-leaning laws saying that you can't spend tax money on abortions, you can't profit off of abortions, all these things.
Yeah.
And so that's why abortions are around even in the way that they are, is because they can't be funded by taxpayer money.
Yeah.
It's actually written into our laws, because who makes the laws? Politicians. So politicians, this is a very strong point to some people. So politicians write these laws, and even Democrats can say, okay, boom, I'm reaching across the aisle. You can't spend tax money on abortions.
I think it would be on the very first paragraph of in
Yeah, I mean, I'm trying to find the actual...
the amendment itself? Well, because it's going to be 140 pages long.
No, he's on Wikipedia.
Oh.
Yeah.
And it's...
I thought he was going to read the actual amendment itself.
Well, that's...
The Hyde Amendment. Well, yeah, like I say, it's going to be... I read these things all the time for fun. And they're literally... They'll have a short version that's just the points, kind of like I do my thing. And it'll be 20 pages long. And then you'll go and you'll read... and most of those will be filler. Because one page will only have 10 things on it. And it'll be all subdivided by chapters and points. But then you go and read the actual thing.
In the U.S. politics, the Hyde Amendment is a legislative provision barring the use of federal funds to pay for abortions, except to save the life of the woman or if the pregnancy arises from incest or rape. That's all it says.
So there you go. It
says nothing about it being only foreign.
Yeah, it's not. It's not. It's about America.
But it is.
It's here in America.
It does have it's American, but it is.
Oh, I'm sure it does, except for Jerusalem.
It's not by country.
Except for
it's
Israel.
by organization.
Because we paid for government-funded abortions over in Israel.
Yeah, but
which they have government-provided healthcare, socialist healthcare. I think they call it. No, social care, socialist care. Socialist, and they also have government-provided abortions with their socialist care. And I thought they were like conservative religious country, but they have legal government-funded, American government-funded abortions there, provided by their health system. Their healthcare system.
Well, there's loopholes.
Oh yeah, I'm sure.
We say here's foreign aid.
Here's some foreign aid.
And
here's $6 billion plus $1 extra billion that you don't have to spend out of your budget.
Right.
So that's why they have all this stuff, because we pay for whatever we pay there. They just subsidize it for something else.
Right.
Yeah, it's perfect.
Again, this is the type of journalism people don't get.
Yeah, because nobody wants to read the article. They just want to read the headline.
Well, and they don't want to pay for it either. And if you don't want to pay for it, then you're going to get these biased news, that are getting funded through private corporations.
Yeah, think tanks.
There are some journalists that still do.
Because there's a very far-right news, like TV channel.
Yeah.
And it's not, I think it's not Newsmax, it's the other one,
OAN, they call it.
Yeah.
The Trump family owns a sizable share.
Well, and then it was also funded and started by AT&T.
Okay.
Again, I mean,
didn't know that.
It was on that
John Oliver
episode. And so, again, if you're not going to pay for it, someone else is going to pay for it who has an agenda.
Well,
and that's why you're going to have.
And see, I have a theory, and I have done zero research on this, but what probably happened is some big company got a hold of the FCC or whatever, rewrote the laws to make it so that small companies, small local independent news organizations couldn't get funded the same way or ran into some kind of. But then they started to fail.
No.
Then these big corporations came in and just started sweeping everything up.
It's either they get their funding either through advertisements in their pages, and subscriptions. And so, if they don't have enough subscribers, well, advertisers aren't going to put advertisements in there because they're saying
because you're not reaching a big enough audience.
For your newspaper is just not big enough, and it's not worth it.
You get 1%, 1/10%.
Right.
You need 100,000 people to sell 10 things.
And the thing is, recourse or repercussion to false, news headlines is much greater with the newspaper. Because it's local, you can call them out, right? And with a major news organization that's broadcasted nationwide or globally, they just sweep you under the carpet. They don't care. They move on. You say, well, what they said was false and it wasn't true. And
moving on.
Exactly. And what are you going to do? You get,
just... throw my
So you can't hold the big news companies' feet to the fire. You can't, because they just move on. And same thing happens with.
Well, I didn't know this until I think it was the Casey Anthony. What was the one where the baby
went missing?
Yeah, went missing, and then.
Oh, they went to Hawaii, right?
Something like that. Yeah, it was found in the trunk. I don't remember, but it was one of those stories that captured like the imagination of the country. And my point was only that I didn't know this until then, but I watched an interview with a guy who was talking about how those stories become national news instead of just local stories, and they literally have these like agents who are going out and looking for those type of stories and. Because like that one was already like 2 years old or something, and all of a sudden it became this big deal.
Again,
everybody was caring about. So these guys go out and they get paid essentially to find these local stories that will capture the imagination, like
News
blow them
scouts?
up. Yeah, they're like, which, it's like ridiculous because, but that's partly how we're manipulated by the media. Is like they jam these stories down our throat, like, oh, this is what
distractions. No, they're not.
Well, they know tragedy. Like the Gabby Petito case, I think is part of that.
So then, what do you do?
Well, you just
how
have
do you curb that? How do you?
I try to look at as many news sources as possible. Is how I personally combat that. Like I read the news on as many different.
Gary reads, big variety like
Fox
Nation, Fox News Online, Fox News. I'm just kidding.
Even right here, I got Fox News up. I got CNN up.
Yeah.
I read the news. I don't watch the news, and I've told you about that before. Where like I don't watch Hannity. I don't watch Don Lemon. I don't watch any of those.
That's not news. That's
I know exactly, but a lot of people don't understand that, and that's how they get their news, even though it's all opinion. And when you read the news, it's a lot better than
they actually have to write opinion at the top of the article.
Yeah.
So if say you're going to read an inflammatory article,
it'll
say opinion.
It's hard to become
themselves from lawsuits.
Yeah. Not an actual news story. This is just how I'm feeling.
It's a lot harder to like fear monger and stuff like in an article too than it is like when you see these rants that these.
You can definitely fear monger.
No, you can. It's just harder.
Crying.
Yeah, it's just harder to like get that emotion than when you're
voice,
watching the person.
Yeah.
And it definitely you're right. Like I see it in articles, but you don't get the same emotional responses when you watch, Don Lemon, impassionedly like going off on
with the little clip
tangent.
show in the corner of all these people being beaten or whatever, just to invoke them with dogs barking.
Yeah.
No.
So, but I me personally, I read the news and I read as many different.
So this led to people not wanting to get the vaccine because they have a distrust for the government and a distrust for the media. For the media.
And then those two teaming up
equals that 30% of Americans that have now been vaccinated. Yeah. Not even a single shot.
But remember, like it's the talking point is like the unvaccinated are all these like redneck hillbilly Trump supporters, which that's not true. Like that is some of them, but one of the biggest racial demographic disparity is in African Americans being vaccinated.
I mean, you could look back historically to some of the
things.
I'm just saying
that percentage of the U.S. population.
Yeah, I'm just saying that
they make up a small cross section. But as a percentage of is what he's saying.
Yeah.
So if they both, instead of it being like this, if you made them the same size and then did a percentage of
like age, so like 90% of people over 65 have been vaccinated.
Well, and then you run into more problems where when you start getting into these different communities, the age disparity becomes a lot greater.
Well, they're accusing New York of segregation laws by the vaccine mandates because. Yeah, African Americans.
I always
vaccine rates aren't high.
How funny!
And they're basically saying you can't go into businesses, you can't do this if you're not vaccinated.
Yeah, but they're not doing it by a race then.
Yeah, but they're saying that it's disproportionately, and I'm using
disproportionately affecting
minorities.
There's only.
It's true. Are the minorities saying that by chance?
Yeah.
Saying here, there's only 42 million.
What?
African American.
Yeah, they're like 15%.
In the U.S.
Well, and there's what, 360 million, 70 million?
Yeah, they're about 15% of our population.
A little 10, 12%.
So how much of that 10% are not getting vaccinated?
Well, keep in mind, anyone under 18
again, I'm saying the talking point is that it's all...
Well, it's 330 million.
Okay.
U.S. population.
But yeah, the talking point that it's, all essentially white people... Trump supporters that aren't being vaccinated. That's not true. There's a lot of people that aren't vaccinated for a lot of reasons.
It's mostly young people. It's disproportionate.
It's definitely young people.
Yeah.
Because they don't feel like you need it.
Well, that's young
and they
people
don't
feel
as
immortal.
much. I mean, to be fair, like unless you have, you're, really obese, I would get the vaccine.
Diabetic. Some sort of pre-existing condition.
Yeah.
Some sort of
like Michael,
infection.
He got the first shot and he had a bad reaction. So he didn't want to get the second one, and he does have allergies. Like he's allergic to fucking
Nuts?
What is it? No, it's
like a tree nut allergy.
Epinephrine or something like stuff like he can't take Tylenol.
What is a tree nut? Like
peanuts.
Is it? I thought peanuts were underground.
I think peanuts are underground.
Yeah, that's a root. You pull them up.
I think pecans are out of trees.
Pecans, walnuts.
Yeah.
Tree nuts. All the other nuts besides peanuts.
I don't know.
I'm not a
because we bought.
I'm not a plant doctor.
We went to Mod Pizza and they have the no name cake. It looks like a hockey puck. And on the ingredients, the very last it said tree nuts.
Well, because they probably use almond flour or something.
Well, why not just put that? Why just say I don't know.
Well, because it's a type of allergy.
Oh, okay. Because I've never seen it.
Yeah. I've seen tree nuts. I've never seen tree nuts.
Pecans.
Pecans.
Pistachios.
Again,
yeah, Russell Brand actually did a really good.
Did we already say pecans?
Are we still talking about fucking tree nuts?
Everything best in show.
But yeah, Russell Brand did a really good video actually on like who the unvaccinated is.
That sounds almost
and it's
like
not.
a racist
It's
way
not
to
a certain demographic. It's not a certain
it's an age.
Why people are
Isn't
saying
it?
they're not getting. Yeah, I mean
a lot of it.
It's mostly young people. But a lot of the reasons, like
some
of the reasons are just like
too.
they don't want to take the time off work. They don't want to like do this.
They're saying it's the mark of the beast.
Yeah, there is.
But here's the problem with making that kind of claim, and I don't mean the mark of the beast claim. I mean like you just said about religious people, is you're talking about such a small minority of them that it's like I wouldn't count that. The far fringes are ridiculous, crazy people.
It adds to the people.
But just as many people say it's the mark of the beast, they're saying you should vaccinate babies and stuff on the other side.
Babies do get vaccinated.
I'm just saying even more so. Like for as far to one extreme as you want to go, there's going to be people just as far in the other extreme. That I think you kind of cut those two end pieces off and go more with the middle.
I do go a lot on Reddit.
Okay.
And they have a subreddit called the Herman Cain Award.
All right.
Herman Cain, he died from COVID-19.
Yeah, he was one of the conservative
deniers.
Yeah.
But he was while COVID was hitting us pretty hard. They kept saying
COVID and vaccine denier.
And he kept saying to stay away from large groups, right? Because you're going to spread it. And he kept going to all these rallies, and then he ended up getting it, and he died. So in that subreddit, the Herman Cain Award, what they put on there is people that are anti-vax, and so it's like all of their postings on Facebook of them being against it, and some are more funny and they're catchy. And then there's usually about 6 to 10 pictures. So you're scrolling through. So it starts with them being all anti, and then you get to like the last 2 pictures, and it's like one of their loved ones saying,
"Pray for them because they're sick,
because they're in the ICU."
Yeah.
And then the last picture is like
funeral will be on Friday.
Right, exactly.
I don't have a lot of sympathy for people that are outright anti-vax, but there's a lot of people who aren't necessarily anti-vax that aren't vaccinated.
Well, that's kind of
we're putting it as this big political question. There's a lot of people that aren't vaccinated just because they don't want to take the time off work. They don't want to do this.
A lot. I mean, in that subreddit, a lot of the first posts are politically motivated.
Yeah, no, I know there are people out there that are anti-vax. I'm saying that there's not everybody who's not vaccinated are like against vaccines. There's a lot of reasons why people haven't gotten the vaccine. And yeah, there are people that are specifically like, I will never get, this or that, or just like the left, the far left anti-vaxxers were the ones, Hollywood idiots that believed that their kids were getting autism from vaccines, which doesn't happen.
Oh, I thought it was just one actress.
No, there's a whole bunch.
Is there?
That's what
there's a lot. There's a lot of far left people that believe in that. Even though that
it's so funny because everything touches around on the other end. Because it's like
that's what he was saying.
Yeah, you go so far left that you want
right.
Police to enforce your hippie laws,
and
then you go so far right you want police that can enforce your conservative laws, and then you meet in the middle and it's just police taking everybody's freedoms. I make this argument a lot. So you have these people that are pro-gun control, and then they're against abortions, right? But the thing is it's basically the same right. One's body autonomy, one's the ability to protect yourself, we'll say, to simplify it. So you notice that politicians cut right down the middle. One of them wants to take away your guns, and one of them wants to take away your body autonomy, right? Our government, by design, these two parties have to work together.
Right.
So half of them focus on taking away your personal rights, half of them focus on taking away how you protect your rights. And then when they meet in the middle, you end up having no guns and no body autonomy, right? Yeah. They'll agree, they'll meet in the middle, and they'll both get what they want.
Right.
One will be no guns, and one will be no body autonomy.
Right.
And then it'll be the government telling you what to do, and you won't be able to defend yourself.
That's what's better is, I see your point, but at the same time, when you meet in the middle now, it's that you have guns, but there's limits on them, and you have abortion, but there's limits on them.
That's the compromise on both sides.
Yeah.
That's what we have now. But with how divisive and far apart things are getting, it's going to end up, here's what we have now, and then when they go around
there's a lot of people in the middle that, the people on the fringe are the loudest.
Exactly. And they're the craziest.
There's a lot of people in the middle that, aren't crazy, and you want two strong political parties in your country. You don't want one party.
You want
what's funny though
strong political parties.
Is
you want 10 or 20.
We just got would you say a microcosm of it happening in our political system, where it's the silent majority. I think they got tired of what was going on in the country with a type of politician. I'm talking about Pennsylvania, how historically they've always been blue.
Okay.
And so I'm assuming they weren't happy how things were going, so they went ahead and voted for Trump.
Okay.
Right? And it was like the first time they made a big deal.
Plus Hillary Clinton was a terrible candidate.
Yeah, nobody's arguing with that.
Right, but...
I do think Trump wouldn't have won if he went up against...
anybody that wasn't Hillary?
Yeah.
Bernie Sanders.
Bernie would have mopped the floor with him. Why didn't he debate Bernie Sanders?
He wouldn't.
Because he knows if you put Bernie against Trump, Bernie's just going to ask Trump a bunch of questions that he can't answer.
Right. At the time, too, if Trump would have debated Bernie, he would have been giving Bernie,
a platform?
a platform and,
he would have been exposing
Trump wanted to run against
ignorant,
for sure.
Awful president he would be.
Yeah,
and then Bernie Sanders would ask him, what about this? And Trump would be like, the wall. It'd be like, well...
I'm not a huge Bernie Sanders fan, but I do think he would have done.
I like the idea.
Yeah. Well, that's another topic we can get into later on. But what I was getting into is that they went red,
okay.
And this last election they went back blue, back quick, and I think that scares a lot of politicians. That especially even Arizona. We kept saying we haven't been happy. We've been
change.
Right, but now they're talking about Texas turning blue. They're saying they're purple right now.
Texas, yeah.
Well, they were saying purple about us, and now we're full blown blue.
Right. Well, with right now, Kristen Sinema is getting a lot of heat for the way she's voting in Capitol Hill.
She's just doing it for the attention.
She's not doing it for attention. She's doing it because she's getting paid.
Well, she's doing it because she wants to be reelected, and she knows she won't be reelected unless she is that middle ground. Same with Manchin in where is he, Virginia or
I don't know. He said he already. I believe he announced that he wasn't going to run again.
Well, you probably got paid off.
No, I know, but
well, one of the corporations that pay him are coal mining companies. That's where he gets a lot of his fundings. That's why he's against. That's why he's against.
Well, every politician gets paid off.
Well, him specifically is getting paid off by
coal mines,
and that's why he's against the
Green New Deal.
Well, you can call it that, but that's not what it's called.
Yeah, whatever. The stimulus, the extended stimulus,
the
infrastructure. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
The
infrastructure bill.
Yeah, the infrastructure is the 1 point whatever.
That's the agreed upon.
The other one is still the infrastructure.
And I bet
it makes confusing if you call them both the infrastructure.
Well, one is infrastructure light, and that's the 1 point whatever trillion, and then you got you know,
Which
the
is
bold
like,
and rich
I bet if you
infrastructure.
I
say
bet
that
if you,
again though, like that's the funny thing.
if you
that
went through
1 point whatever trillion is a light bill.
It
Well,
is
like,
because it's spent within 10 years.
yeah, you're going to spend more than
That's
that
the
on
thing that
fucking-
people don't understand.
on foreign aid in the next 10 years.
Is people say that when they don't say that, and you know what's funny is I didn't know that until I looked it up. Because I thought it was going to be 3.4 trillion right off the bat,
Yeah,
like
upfront
right now,
cost.
upfront cost,
Nope.
and it's not. It's spent
that's not
within
how
10 years.
That's how they do their budget.
Right? Okay, wait, hear me out.
Yeah.
How long were we in Afghanistan?
20 years.
20 years. How much did we spend there?
$2 trillion?
No, it was $9 trillion.
Nine, I meant to say 9 trillion.
9 trillion.
But 9 trillion.
But they were
over
okay
20
with that
years,
one, yeah.
That comes out to $4.450 billion a year, which would be more so than this infrastructure plan they're talking about. All right, let's call it stop here. This would be a good place to cut.